Good morning. This is the October 14th, 2015 meeting of the Raymond Beautification Committee, and I'm co-chair Sharon Dodson, and this is
Elisa Gifford. I'm co-chair with Sharon Dodson.
And we'd like to ask Mike Reynolds, who is our select board representative, to moderate the meeting, chair the meeting.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm always happy to do this when Sharon asks, but I'd like to start and have everybody introduce themselves, and we'll go around the table starting with Chris.
Morning, everyone. I'm Chris McClellan.
Good morning. I'm Jan Miller.
Hi, I'm Mitzi Burby.
Good morning, Elisa Gifford.
Sharon Dodson.
I'm Mary McIntyre.
Mike Reynolds.
Don Willard.
And Nate, our Public Works Director, was going to be here, but there was a culvert issue early this morning, and he is currently replacing a culvert, or planning to replace a culvert, but he sends his best and understands that, seeing he's not here, that his duties may increase because he's not here to defend himself. So, you know, I would take full advantage of that if I had that opportunity, because he's not here, so, to defend himself.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. So I want to start the meeting much like the last meeting, which was last year, and read the vision and the mission of the Beautification Committee. The vision is to maintain and enhance the sense of community, pride, and visual appearance of the town of Raymond through the use of gardens, landscape, and seasonal decorations. This will be a community partnership which includes volunteerism, town resources, and the business community. The mission is the Raymond Beautification Committee will develop and promote initiatives that identify and address the town's beautification. The committee will provide input into policy making and serve as a liaison between townspeople and involve town board committees in advocating for the desired improvements and maintenance of our town. When I think of the vision, and I look back on since we had our last meeting, the idea of volunteers, town resources, and business community probably has come together the best as it has since the whole beautification committee was brought together. You know, we're going to get into it a little bit when we talk about old business, but I do think that having some part-time dedicated staff from the town that was voted through town meeting has helped. I think it's taken a little of the weeding pressure off, and when I had the tour last week and kind of the overview with Sharon, it really shows. You know, I know that there were concerns by some committee members that we were falling a little bit behind over the years, and some of the roses and other weeds were taken over, and it just doesn't look that way anymore. So I just think that vision, although 10 years in the making or 12 years in the making, has finally come to be, I think, the full partnership that it was envisioned at the beginning. So I want to say that from my standpoint. So, Don, quick history?
Okay, Reader's Digest version of history, but I'll have to be careful because the founder, originator of the whole effort is here this morning, Chris McClellan. So if you have any kudos you want to share about it, that's the person. If you have you know, something else to share about it, then
We blame it on
then
Nathan.
you could blame it on her. But so it goes back. I mean, I think further than this, because I've been here about 15 years, and when I arrived, it was one of the projects that was on the shelf, and you were trying to get it moving. Chris was trying to get it moving with the 302 Improvement Committee, which they did over a couple of years. I think it was actually probably been the planning stage even in the late 90s. But certainly by the early 2000s, in about 2002 or 13 or so years ago, the town led a $606,000 bond for the improvement project, which included, a curb-to-curb overlay. It included the sidewalks, the street lights, access management improvements, drainage improvements. It was one of the very first, if not the first, locally administered project that the state of Maine DOT partnered with the town. So the committee, myself, our staff, and Goral Palmer managed the project successfully. So we got a lot of acclaim for that, and people immediately began to recognize it as a sort of a visionary thing. People don't remember what it looked like originally, but it wasn't so nice. It was, kind of, weeds and trash and just a not a great experience driving down the 302 corridor. And of course, against the, I think, desires of some of the pundits, they said, well, it doesn't matter what Raymond looks like, it's a waste of money. No one will ever use the sidewalks. It's the gardens, what's that all about? It doesn't really matter what it looks like. In fact, if it looks nicer, more people might come, and that was seen as a negative. So those are the kinds of things that we were fighting in those days. And so we get the improvement project done. It's I guess from the DOT standpoint, town standpoint, it's successful. It looks great. Now emerges a big problem. Small town, lots of gardens, lots of things to manage and take care of. So how do you do that without, as you know about Raymond, we want to keep our taxes low, so we don't want to see a large budget increase. We don't want to see a full-time crew, maintaining the gardens. So at that time, we had a new state representative, Mike McClellan, who has been active on this committee before, a member of this committee. So he came to me and said, what can we do? What can I do to help you? And I said, well, I got this problem. I got all these gardens, and it's really quite a maintenance project. And so, maybe, and I guess it was in his role as the Chamber of Commerce Director, he was State Representative, Chamber of Commerce Director. I forget which is which. Maybe he was Chamber of Commerce Director first, then State Rep. But so anyway, as Chamber of Commerce Director, he goes door to door talking to various business owners about this notion of, hey, we've just invested $500,000 or better in the corridor. That was in part for economic development, to make things, operate better, look better. How about working with the town in volunteering? And so what emerged from that was the Beautification Committee. And I don't know if he knocked on your door, Sharon. Probably he did. And
he talked to my husband.
Talked to your husband. And so anyway, before too long, we had a group of, really dedicated volunteers out there taking care of the gardens, and that was a huge task. The town has gradually stepped in to assist. I think we did basic things like delivering materials and so forth in the early days. And, Nathan, I remember when the plantings were near death, he was out there with the watering truck, keeping them alive for some period of time. And so we did what we could. I've never weeded, but I have tried to be supportive and helpful.
You've been very supportive.
And Mike, I think, has actually weeded. He's been out there helping.
Mike weeded a lot.
Weeded a lot, yeah. So anyway, now we have evolved a little bit, and we have, that's the kind of the history and of structural history, but we have evolved from a town standpoint, and we now have some part-time people who assist. So the labor part, the labor-intensive part that was so difficult for the committee, I think has been rectified and corrected. And so now, if you enjoy flowers, which everyone I think does, and plants, it's a wonderful opportunity to enjoy that, to learn about them from people who are expert and passionate about it. So if you are interested in volunteering and wanted to be a part of the effort, we're really looking for people to step up and do that. And we have 2 new members today, which I'm really thrilled about. And so I guess that's the real quick tour. Things are looking great, and we get compliments all the time at the town office about the gardens. And I'm quick to explain how that happens, because one of the first questions we get is, how in the world, as a small town, do you maintain them and manage them? And we do it through volunteerism and partnership, public-private partnership, the businesses, the committee, the town working together. It's been a success, and I think it's a mature effort now.
Definitely. That's a good segue into Walk and Weed.
So Sharon, when you talk about Walk and Weed, I think if you could also say a little bit, I mean, there's a group of folks here for this meeting, but the group that is much larger than this, and I just don't want to miss the folks who aren't here today and make sure of that. So talk about Walk and Weed.
Well, we have a contact list of probably 20 people, some of whom were more active years gone by, some of whom are new volunteers. Usually we go out Friday mornings from April to December, and about 4, 5, 6 people show up every week, and we weed, plant, and prune. We start at the Veterans Memorial Park and clean up there. We take care of the gardens there, do whatever needs to be done, and then move on to whichever gardens need the most work. Sometimes we do 1 or 2 other gardens, sometimes we do several, depending on how much we need to do. Volunteers don't need to confirm that they're coming. We don't have to count on anybody specifically, so if they're available, they show up, and they can work as long as they want. It's rewarding, I think, to people, because you get to have have camaraderie and
We really do have fun.
Yeah, we do have
It's
fun.
Not only, you know,
get a
just,
little exercise.
yeah, get fresh air, exercise, get out of the house, socialize, learn a little bit about
Gardening.
plants, gardening.
Right? And so that's the Walk and Weed program. Do you guys have any input?
And it seems like everybody has something they really like to do when
Yeah.
they come to Walk and Weed. Some people,
Yeah.
like Mitzi, loves
Like
to
to
pull the
weed.
weeds out of the bricks at the vet memorial. Jan loves to plant,
Yes.
which we all, of course, like to do. Shirley Bloom, who often shows up, loves to prune things, so.
Yes.
Go to our strengths.
Yeah, we have to restrain her sometimes. Well, yeah, we really do have fun.
Yeah.
And it's fun for us to see the results and
Yeah.
to hear from the town office how much people appreciate what goes on out there.
Exactly.
So it's a social experience or social happening along with
Oh, yes.
the flowers, and so people who have a love of plants and flowers can come together and share that, and so it's not all
Oh, no.
work by any
Not
means.
all
Right.
nose to the grind. So, and anybody who just wants to come and, you know, you don't have to know anything about plants or
Right.
planting. We're happy to have those who are interested just in learning about what's out there on 302 and why we do what we do.
And we share our tools.
We share tools, gloves, whatever you need, they've got it. The best thing is we don't have to water anymore as much as we used to because the town has stepped in to help with that.
This whole summer was a lot easier. It's only my second year, but last summer was very rigorous at times. Like some days 4 and 5 hours, and this year it hasn't been nearly as difficult.
Right.
because
And
of
we've
because
only
of the help.
we've only worked 1 day a week. This is the
Yes.
first
Oh.
year in all 12 years that we've only worked 1 day a week.
Right.
I limited it. I mean, in the past, I was always emailing, can anybody work on Tuesday or Thursday or this or that? And this year, didn't do that once.
Wow.
So it's
All because of the town help.
right.
That's been a big difference.
So that sort of leads, Alyssa, right into Adopt a Garden.
Adopt a
You're-
Garden.
You're talking here about Walk and Weed, which includes some of the adopted gardens if they get maybe a little tired looking, right? But
Oh, yes.
but the only reason this works is that some of the gardens, how many gardens do we have?
We have
Ish.
70 planted areas.
70 planted areas. Now, 5 people working a couple hours a week, plus volunteers, plus some part-timers from the town, can't take care of 70 gardens. So that leads us to Adopt a Garden. So would you talk about Adopt a
Right.
Garden?
Interestingly, someone who just moved to the area recently asked me, well, when you're talking about the gardens, well, what do you mean by gardens? So basically, we're talking about the north side of 302, all the planted areas through town, and also the Raymond Beach, that's what we call the gardens that we maintain.
And there are several across the street, too.
That's right, although Jordan Bay has recently redone their area, so we're not as involved with that. There's a few strips on
Yeah.
the south side that we
At
also.
Jordan Bay Animal Hospital, they have their landscapers take care of that.
So, hold on, you guys know north and south? Can we say lakeside, non-lakeside for everybody else?
Right.
That might be easier if we said lakeside,
Right.
non-lakeside.
Non-lakeside is the largest strip of gardens, planted areas that we maintain. Adopt a Garden really means that what we like to encourage is for businesses to adopt a garden. We don't say you have to spare the time and the staff to maintain them. We feel that it's a very good way for businesses to get their name free on 302. Plus, just the community involvement of businesses and the Beautification Committee. Sure, some businesses actually do plant things decorative in their gardens. Many of the gardens along 302 don't have a lot of maintenance required. They're basically daylilies and evergreen shrubs. So if that's all you want to adopt, that's fine, and you don't have to show up and, you know, maintain them on a regular basis. I know my adopted garden I may have gotten into twice a year. We often do all the gardens along the strip when we're out, not all in 1 week, of course. When we say, okay, we're going to start a tire warehouse and work in this many gardens down, we will probably work through adopted gardens as well. So adopted.
But if somebody has taken care of them, that's less work for us.
Right, yes, if they have it maintained, then it is less If anyone is interested in adopting a garden, you can contact the town office. I believe it's on the website. Is it on our website?
It's on the Town of Raymond website, if you look under Raymond Beautification Committee.
Right.
And you can hit my email. There's a link to my email address, so you can email me there. Or you can call our town clerk, Sue Look, at 207-655-4742, extension 121.
Right. Is there anything else that we should add? The signs are free, correct?
People don't have to pay for the signs.
People don't have to pay for the
That's right.
signs. I think that's.
We use
right.
beautification
But
money
sure,
for
if you
that.
want to get your business name out on 302, adopt a garden. We have how many left? We're getting down to the bottom.
Well, we have
so-
about
6 or 8.
five, that are adoptable. I
Right.
mean, some of them probably nobody would be interested in because they're full of roses and that's nasty
Junipers
business.
and things.
But some of those
But-
juniper gardens are adoptable. All you have to do is prune them
Prune them.
2 or 3
Yep.
times a year.
And that's it. Yeah.
So you don't adopt any special needs gardens or problem gardens, is that what you're saying?
People are welcome to adopt rose gardens all they
Those are
want.
special needs,
Yeah.
the
We
rose
just,
gardens.
we really,
There aren't many
I don't
left.
think anybody since Mary has adopted a rose garden, actually. Back in the early years, people
Yeah.
did adopt them, but we went through a lot of adopters that way.
Poor guy.
That's hazard pay.
So the gardens that are available for adoption are well-behaved gardens that are easier to maintain?
They're all available for adoption. We have
Okay.
please adopt me signs in
Right.
probably 5. And those are the gardens that are easy to take care of and we'd be glad to help you. And some of them have room for you to plant annuals or bulbs if you're interested. Don't have to. But some people like that, they want to make their
Right.
gardens prettier.
Is there any option, I mean, within reason to have some, I know we selected certain plantings originally, but can you, because I know people like to plant, they like to have their touch on it, is there some opportunity for that?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
There are a few of those gardens that have room for you to put annuals in. I mean, you could put perennials in if you wanted to, but there are perennials in all the gardens already and shrubs in some.
Not all the gardens are on 302 that you guys help with, right? We help
Right.
True.
with the library,
That's a good point,
Right.
yes.
town hall,
Right?
and then a cooperative with some of the school properties.
Mhm.
Right now, we're only tied in with the sign garden here at Jordan Small. When Mary was with us, we took care of all the
Did all of
gardens,
it,
and it
yeah.
just got to be too much work. And
Mhm.
we talked with some of the people at the school, and staff members agreed to take care of the gardens. And of course, it just gets overwhelming at the school because most of the work has to be done in the summer when the people aren't there. So
Mhm.
that's a challenge, ongoing challenge.
But it is more than 302, so
Yeah.
it's not only
Right.
beautiful on 302,
Right.
right?
Did we mention the beach, which is now?
We're going to mention the beach
Okay, I'll be
down
quiet.
a little bit. No,
All right.
you don't have to be quiet.
So that brings us to kind of what our goals were at our meeting last year. It's kind of old business follow-up, and just wanted to mention a couple of things. We had been looking to see if we could get 20 hours per week from Public Works broken out through a couple of folks. Some of the key areas we were looking for help with were taking away the materials that were pulled out of the gardens every week, right? And having that done on Friday. The Public Works can get busy, as I mentioned earlier. Date was going to be here, but emergencies happen. And I know prior to last season, not this season, but last season, sometimes you'd make a pile that would still be there on Monday or Tuesday because Public Works would get busy and not be able to pick it up. So now part of that 20 hours goes to taking care of all of the materials that are pulled out pretty much weekly and making
Yeah, they
those
work with
piles.
us
and-
every Friday.
Yeah,
Immediately.
so they're actually with you on Fridays now, so that
Yes.
takes care of that. You mentioned watering. The town has access to a truck that I believe carries water around, and so the watering is done a couple times a week as opposed to just the emergency. Oh, I think Sharon, I've seen those emails that go out with, anybody got a watering can and it's Tuesday and we had a hot spell over the weekend kind of thing. So that has really helped. And also having just that daily kind of pickup, that eyes on the areas. So if the public hasn't been as good at carry in, carry out kind of stuff, it keeps the corridor looking good. So that was a big thing that we'll look for from the last meeting. Raymond Beach, I'm going to let you folks talk about that. Raymond Beach was getting a little overgrown. Would that be the polite word? So what has happened with that since our last meeting?
Well, Raymond Beach was totally overgrown, and we'd get to it maybe once or twice a year, and it was just too much and too hot, and it's busy a lot of the time. And really, I mean, the first couple of years we were able to keep up with it because we worked so many hours, but it just wasn't looking good. And this year it's completely changed. It's been beautiful all summer long. No weeds. The ornamental grasses are really make it a show place. The roses are all trimmed down to manageable height so you can actually see the water through there.
And some of the gardens were totally redone, the ones that were really overgrown.
Yes.
Everything
Right.
was dug out
That was summer before last.
and replanted. One of the areas this year was mainly annuals, but we'll be planting some grasses and perennials in there next year. Yeah, it's totally different. It's so much easier for us, and especially with the help from the town, because they go down and pick up trash every day and water when they're there. So it's really made a huge difference.
And we talk about how drastic, 3 years ago when you drove by there, you couldn't see the water.
Right.
The gardens were so overgrown and so high, and now
And you couldn't see the plants in them for the weeds.
There's so many
Well, it
weeds,
was,
yeah.
and so now you go through and it's landscaped, and a lot of it is to bring back what had been covered,
Yes.
but also there's been new stuff, and now you can see the water. So it's a much more inviting place, I think, and
Especially since that's the main spot to see the lake from 302 in Raymond. People who drive by, that's the spot you see the lakes most.
yeah. And we've spoken about the town and getting some help part-time just in the summer, so that takes place over 5 or 6 months, I think, is when you get the part-time help, which is the growing season, hopefully. But also we get volunteers from Cumberland County. Can you talk about that?
Yes, Cumberland County Community Service, the inmates who are just about to get out, so there's really no, they're not dangerous or anything, come to work with us usually twice a summer. This summer it was just right before 4th of July, and they volunteered about 70 hours. So they were able to do the whole strip up and down 302 on both sides and get everything weeded and pruned. And this year there was a professional arborist on the crew, and he was very, very fast. And so he was able to prune all our lower trees that he could reach from the ground. So it was really good.
That's good.
And oftentimes, the people who are released near the end of their sentence, as you said, they're in there for nonviolent crimes, and but oftentimes they're young people who have made a mistake, and so I know that you've told me that there is a level of good feeling and fulfillment in these young people get to do something productive and oftentimes express that appreciation.
Yes.
So it's a good experience from that standpoint working with Cumberland County.
Yeah. We enjoy it, and they enjoy it too.
And that is something that, from a scheduling standpoint, historically we've tried to do the week before the 4th, so that
Right.
the corridor looks as good as possible
Right.
when we get that first huge influx and having the tourists come through. So
And we have them lined up for 4 days before 4th of July next year and 4 days before Labor Day next year.
excellent. So one of the things you've got on the agenda here is to kind of highlight this season and talk about what's left in this season. And if you could do that fairly quickly, then we can get on to what the hopes are of next year. And I also want to ask each of the committee members, especially the new ones, why you do it. So think about that, because I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. So.
Okay, so I'll quickly summarize 2015. When Mike and I went on our tour last week, I kind of pointed out some of the projects we did, and so we noticed one garden that was kind of messy out in front of Ray's and Maggie's, it was all overgrown with weeds, and the junipers that were in there made it so it was really hard to pull the weeds out. So John and Dennis, and maybe some more help from Nathan's guys, got all those.
Don and Dennis, who are they?
Don and Dennis are our town employees, our part-time helpers. So they got those junipers out and put in some new soil, and we transplanted some mature perennials from the rest of the project in there. And then Maggie planted some of her own annuals for the summer. And then just recently we added some more perennials. So that garden's all taken care of and ready for next year. We also transplanted lots of mature plants into other gardens where maybe some things had died from winter kill or snow, or for whatever reasons. There was one garden almost empty down at the beach. I think snow was piled on it and the perennials were killed. So we did a lot of that the last few weeks.
We did last week, we did in an hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. We did a lot.
Beat the rain.
And
Oh, that's
we
right,
couldn't have
yeah.
done, I mean, how long would all that have taken if we didn't have the truck,
didn't
the
have-
town truck, and
If we hadn't had Chris's husband there with us
I
with
know.
that truck and to
and
move the plants.
now, and the fact that the big heavy plants we don't have to lift,
Right.
what a difference. So we did, yeah, we transplanted enough plants for one really pretty big garden, as big as this section here at the beach,
Yeah.
and got them all planted 1 hour before it rained last Friday. And it was fun, we had fun. Didn't we have fun?
We did, that was great.
So let's see. Oh, and Jordan Bay Marina renovated their garden across the street from the marina. And that, Mike called my attention to that. That all went really well. They worked with Chris Hansen and they got a plan for the garden. They showed it to us. We liked it. They installed it. They're taking care of it. Don McClellan started to help them take care of it, and they said, no, we've got the water coming in right away, so they started watering it themselves. So we all worked really well together on that. Mike asked me about Facebook, and I've been a little remiss in posting pictures this summer because I've been really busy, and all of our work time really needed to be spent working, not photographing. But when we do post pictures, we get a lot of nice comments, like, great job, just noticed that, thanks so much. We have 113 likes. We'd like some more likes because that gets our pictures and our information shared further. And the vet park, I guess the new thing there is the town dock, and we just wanted to comment, there hasn't been any problem from our perspective. We haven't, I haven't heard Dawn complaining about the trash or anything.
Extra trash or anything.
I'd like to make just a quick input here on my husband is the chairman of the Veterans Committee.
Her husband is the
But he is the
veteran
Veterans Committee, Committee of One. So I've been down there with him when we've been replacing bricks and putting new ones in, and I do all the holiday decorating and stuff down there now. And there's been many times I've gone down, or we've gone down to sweep the bricks before, a holiday or something like that. Every Sunday, it seems, there's been one of Nate's public works guys, I don't know who he is, but
Dawn, usually.
Don, is it Don?
Yeah,
He's
he goes down every
always
weekend
there.
there.
He's
Yeah.
there watering. He's there. He beats us to sweeping the bricks, and he's picking up stuff. And it's just, I think this year it has. Every time we've gone down to do anything, it's been impeccable. I mean, and we've been there while people have watched us put bricks in and commented on how wonderful it looks and how pretty, and they just didn't know a small town would have such a beautiful memorial area and stuff like that. So it's really gotten a lot of notice. And I just want to thank the Walking Weeders and Public Works for really, it has been really nice this year, I think.
Definitely. Thank you, Mary. Good point. So for the rest of 2015, I think we're going to change to 9 o'clock for Walk and Weed. Everybody agree with that? Yes. It's getting colder.
Wonderful.
And this week and next, we discussed, well, first of all, thank you to Jan for decorating town office on Monday. It looks beautiful. We're going to get some pictures up there. on the Facebook page. So that is done. And we're going to put corn stalks up at the Welcome to Raymond signs, hopefully this week, and pull all the Adopt a Garden signs. We like to get them in before the first snow or before the ground freezes, because we've been through that before and it was kind of a pain to have to pull them out from frozen ground. And October 30th, we have Jordan Small School Community Service kids coming to work with us, probably about 25. We have about 6 volunteers committed to come work with them on that day. And we'll be planting bulbs at the Veterans Memorial Park and at the Pink Tulip Garden across the street. We'll have Dawn there with the town truck and the cones and the lights and everything to make the crossing safe. We'll also rake at the Veterans Memorial Park. They did a lot of raking there last year, and that was very helpful. And the kids were great to work with last year, weren't they?
It was great fun, yes.
Yeah,
I think they really enjoyed it, and they learned something about how to plant bulbs.
Right. Yeah, it's great because we can have one of our volunteers work with 2 or 3 of them, so they get one-on-one attention
And teamwork on the part of the kids working together too.
And weren't they respectful?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, we were
They
just
were a great
so impressed.
bunch of kids.
Really good kids. And they usually have a couple of staff from Jordan Small School
Right.
teachers there with the kids, so it's great. November 6th, our wreath fundraising, we hope to do our wreath fundraising visits. The walk-in readers will go out, and Elisa, you want to summarize the wreath project?
The wreath project, we are, I think we discussed, we're in our 4th year on the wreath project. We started as a way of not only beautifying the town, but also to, I don't know, give the idea that Raymond is still doing business during the winter, plus putting up something that's very holiday and decorative and pretty. We started with, I believe it was 20 wreaths just along the strip in the shopping
Up toward the shopping
center.
area.
The shopping area.
Right.
And we did something like 40. And
The next year.
The next year. And last year we did 69 or 70, and we will
Yep.
do that this year, which means that all those beautiful lampposts will have a wreath with a red bow hanging from it, which Public Works very kindly puts up for us.
Right. And they're really big.
They are
They
quite
only
large.
they look like the regular ones that you hang on your door from that distance, but
Right.
they're really
They're huge.
they're at least 3 feet,
Right.
probably
Yes.
more in
They
diameter.
are. And since it is really the only formal fundraising we do for this committee, we do make visits to businesses along 302 and ask for them to support the project.
And it's a good opportunity for us to educate them about all our programs and what we do
Right.
throughout the year.
Yes.
And any of the money we have left over, we can use for the following season's
Following
annuals.
seasons. Right, yes, and also private citizens who wish to purchase wreaths
Yes, we've
certainly
had,
may do
yeah, we
that.
put it on the website.
Be on the town website. I believe we also have flyers that we will have at the library and at the town office for people to pick up if they wish to donate to the projects.
Yep.
Did I
Dawn?
forget something?
I was just going to make the point that private citizens could, but you beat me to the punch on that one, and so anybody watching wants to sponsor a wreath would be appreciated.
Yes.
Yes, we usually have the ad on the town website and on the town TV channel. And then November 13th, we will put the evergreen boughs in all the public planters, and we'll pick them up from Raymond Hill Christmas Tree Farm. Bob Payne donates them to us every year. He has for probably the last 6 or 7 years, and that's a great help. We'll go out and see if we can find some red berries. Last year they weren't very good. Maybe this will be a better year for them. And we'll cut some of our own greens from 302. We left some of the junipers so we could cut them because it's nice to have the different colors of greens. We'll get some white painted sticks to put in them, and we'll use whatever we can for bows left over from last year. I think they're stored at Jan's house.
They're hanging in my closet.
Oh, your house, okay. Elisa's house. So
Downstairs in my
we'll
closet.
evaluate the bows, and then we'll have to make some more. Jan has some more ribbon.
You have some.
And then we'll put the bows and ribbon in right after Thanksgiving. And then,
Hoping to beat the snow.
Yes.
And the frozen.
Yes, yeah, we've had some.
We've had that.
We've been out in some snow, that's for sure.
And pounding, trying to get them into the,
Yeah, and pouring
Barrels.
boiling water into the
yeah.
ground to try to stick them in, yeah.
You're sharing all your tricks.
Sledgehammer and screwdriver.
Well, that's why, yeah, that's why we're putting the greens in November 13th, if it works out, because it shouldn't be frozen by
Be
then.
frozen,
And then just the bows and ribbons will go on after Thanksgiving, because we don't really like to put red bows or ribbons on before Thanksgiving. And then next year, next year,
What are your goals? That would be goals, right?
goals, good. Elisa had the idea, after looking at Don and Dennis's t-shirts.
Uh-oh.
Well, it was a good idea.
Well, it is a good idea.
Elisa has been in charge of t-shirts since Eileen Stiles left. And so the t-shirts, we've kind of run out of t-shirts almost, the green t-shirts that we
Right.
wear.
We're now down to the extra larges.
And the ones we have are pretty faded and don't glow or really show up like they were intended to. So we really like the ones that the Public Works guys wear. And we had Don McClellan, Chris's husband, look into that, and Nathan said he can get us some of those, and he can even get our logo, our Raymond Volunteer logo on them. So we're gonna work with Public Works to make that happen, and with any luck, we'll have those really bright, glowy, yellow-green t-shirts next year with the reflectors on them. It'll be safer, and
Yes.
people will really see us.
Because we do work very close to the road.
Right.
And you know what traffic's like in the summer.
Don?
Those are actually ANSI Spec 3, American National Safety Institute safety T-shirts, so that I think that is a good improvement. They're required of the town, and anybody who works, on the roadways and so forth, safety item.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea. And they're very flashy, very stylish.
Yes, they are.
Flashy.
My grandkids will love them.
Yeah.
And we plan to get the Beautification Committee webpage updated. I just talked with Sue, the town clerk, yesterday, and we had an ad on there for someone to oversee Raymond Beach, but we really don't need anybody for that anymore because we're able to manage it now that we have our extra help. So we're taking that advertisement off our webpage, and we're going to get the list of Beautification Committee members up to date. Add Mitzi and Jan and take Eileen off, because Eileen worked with us for about 11 or 12 years, and now she has moved to her retirement home in Thompson or something. It's where she's enjoying, I'm sure, volunteering there. And what else do we have? Oh, well, recruiting more volunteers, that's a goal.
So,
Always.
you have 2 new members, and I told you I was going to put you on the spot. So, Jan, I know you love to garden, but that's at your house. I mean, I've seen your beautiful gardens, but
Thank you.
why did you decide to volunteer for the town?
Well, it was an opportunity following retirement to do some volunteering, doing what I love, and gives me an opportunity to be creative, to share it with the community. And I really just enjoy improving upon things. I'm kind of a type of person that rides by in a car and looks at a house and said, oh, well, I could do this, I could do that. This needs to be done, and that would be a really nice house.
Oh, could you come to mine?
So it just gives me that opportunity to improve my community and to feel a part of the community.
And you've done a beautiful job at the town hall.
Well,
Really.
thank you.
It was wonderful.
So that would be an example of one of the adopted gardens where the
Yes.
adopter actually goes and mostly takes care of it themselves.
Right.
We did
Yeah.
do some significant pruning as a group, which was a big help, and I think that has added a lot of light to the interior of the building. It's also shown up a lot of areas that need to be painted, but that's not our department.
So there's another thing for Nate to do, seeing he's not
Exactly.
here, right?
That's right.
You've
Add
added
it
a
to
thing
Nate's
his
list.
Mitzi, I know you started, I think, last year.
Last year, we moved here about 6 years ago, and I agree with her. It's a way to, for me, I'm not much of a gardener, but I can be good labor. And it's a good way, was for me to get to feel more connected to Raymond. And it's been fun, and even as a non-gardener, to get to know people and have something to do that's volunteer work, not inside a building. Like, I wasn't really interested in something where I'd show up at a place and sit inside for X number of hours. So I think it's something people should consider, especially if they're new here.
Speaking of new, how did you hear about it or decide to, I mean, sometimes moving into community and seeing a group and you drive by the group and you see them every Friday, you go, wow, they know each other, they're there every Friday.
Well, I think it's something you do better now than 6 years ago. You have a brochure now, which was not available 6 years ago when we got here telling you about this. So I think I did see it off and on, and I think I saw something on Facebook, maybe the library had it, and so last April, I think I just dropped by the garden and to find out what was going on, because I noticed the veteran garden, particularly I'm a veteran, and it meant a lot to me that it was there and so well maintained. So I stopped by and spoke to Sharon and didn't stay, but I came back the next time. So I've enjoyed it a lot.
So inviting, comfortable, easy, you often hear.
And do as much as you can or want.
And no pressure. If you have something else to do that day, you do it.
As Sharon always says, it's volunteer.
Yeah. It's really volunteer. No pressure, except for today. Except for today, there was pressure to be here.
And for those folks out there, who think of structure, this is a volunteer committee. Any donations that are given to this committee go to the town, and the town writes the check. So if you do donate directly to this committee, it is tax deductible because you're writing your check to the town. The town oversees the use of the funds, and it is a true public private partnership where it's a volunteer committee working with the town and local businesses. So for those folks it's out there who might be considering it or have the time, this is a great way to get out. And some days are colder than others, some days are hotter than others, right? But it is a good group. There's plenty of room, and you can never have too many, right? There's plenty of gardens to go around, and it's just kind of a rotating, I always think of it as a rotating volunteer basis, because somebody says, okay, we're going to start here and we're going to go until we stop, and then next week you start here and continue, and it really makes a difference. Chris.
Mike.
How are you? Chris, you've been around this for a long time. I mean, anything to say to try to encourage volunteers?
Well, I have been lax myself in volunteer effort for the weeding department. I try to at least do what's in front of our business, but when we first started this, the vision now has come to fruition because it's absolutely gorgeous.
It's all been worth it.
Absolutely.
Finally.
I know. Well, there was a little bit of guffawing about the choice of plantings, which when this whole thing began, wasn't even a thought.
Right.
The only stipulations were that they were easy maintenance. Well, you can see what happened.
Somewhere, somewhere not.
Not so much.
Yeah, but it's makes me very, very happy to know how dedicated Sharon and Alyssa and the rest of the committee has been in keeping the corridor looking, because it's a beautiful asset for the town. And the beach, look what the beach, it used to be a very big problem area, not just from an eyesight standpoint, but everything else. And now we have not only the beach, but the Veterans Park, which is absolutely beautiful, and with the addition of the dock, that's fantastic. I haven't heard what impact that's had on the nearby businesses, but I can only imagine.
Well, we have
I mean,
heard several, you know, 2 or 3 times a week we'll hear that people have come and up to the dock and walked up to a business or over to a business, so
Yeah.
it's working that way. Even that, I heard Raymond Ready Care has gotten some patients who
Oh.
came by boat and walked up.
Well, beautiful. I think that
I
was.
just want to report, several businesses have reported to me that it's been a positive thing, and they've gotten some business from it, gotten some positive commentary. People from other parts of, the surrounding towns have come to do business, as well as Raymond residents. And I should also report, in concurrence with what was stated earlier, there have been no complaints, none, zero, no issues of, misuse of the dock or trash or any concerns whatsoever. So I think you could say, season 1 on the dock is a big success.
And I'm sure it will grow. I mean, we just started that, so
Right.
I'm sure in the years to come that it's going to be a lot busier and
Yeah.
it'll be good.
And they don't have to walk anywhere near the memorial area.
No, we
That's
haven't
the
noticed
important
any
thing.
problems,
Yeah.
no.
So Sharon, I know that most of the folks sitting on this side of the table are going to a gardening event right after this. So I know you have some thank yous and looking for a motion to adjourn so that you can get to your next gardening function today on this beautiful day. So I'm going to turn it over to you for the thank yous.
All right. Well, first of all, I know I'll forget people, but these are the few that I wrote down. We just wanted to highlight. Thank Bob Payne at Raymond Hill Christmas Tree Farm for the evergreen boughs that he gets for us every year. He gets a great big trailer load of evergreen boughs that he cuts for us. It doesn't look like a lot in the individual places, but if you think about that big planter up under the sign at the public safety building, it's a lot.
It takes a lot,
Yeah.
All the
yeah.
barrels take a lot.
It's probably the equivalent of several Christmas trees. We want to thank Public Works, especially Nathan and Dawn and Dennis, who just made it possible for us to do all of this, really. Jessica Fay at Raymond Village Florist gets our wreaths and for us at her cost, and she gets us the pink geraniums for the pink tulip garden and the red geraniums for the Veterans Memorial Park at her cost every year, and that's a really big help because that's actually half of what you'd pay anywhere else. So it's very nice that she does that for us. We want to thank the businesses and individuals who contributed to the wreath project last year. We hope they will contribute again this year. We thank Hawthorne Garden Club for their annual $200 donation or contribution to the Raymond Beautification Committee and their partnership with the Walk-in Weeders on the Veterans Memorial Park Gardens. The Memorial Park Gardens were actually adopted by the Hawthorne Garden Club. We want to thank the businesses and adopters who do take care of their gardens along 302. And most of all, we want to thank all the volunteers who this year have put in already about 400 volunteer hours, and we know there will be quite a few more in the next couple of months. And we also want to make sure we can continue our town business community partnership because it's working really well right now. That's it for us.
And thank you, Mike.
Well, I'm just very pleased that things have worked out so well over the years. I think it's been an evolving process, and rest assured we'll be proposing the volunteer support in the upcoming budget, and we want it to continue to be a success. So thank you all for everything you do. That's really amazing, 400 hours of volunteer time, but I guess compared to some in past years, it's
A lot less,
Yeah.
actually,
probably
yeah.
less, but I would concur too with the
I think that's
notion that,
why I call it a success.
Yes.
because you don't have to put the time
We're,
in.
Right.
we're working one morning a week,
Right.
as opposed to the first couple of years when I and a couple of other women worked 30, 40 hours a week. So this is
Well,
a
it's
complete success.
The
From my
gardens, the
perspective.
302 corridor is a testament to your dedication and volunteerism to the town, and we have, as I say, we get compliments all the time about it. People really think it's a signature, feature of the town now, and the naysayers in the early days have been proven to be, I think, incorrect in the sense of it doesn't matter what Raymond looks like. It does matter. It looks great. People use the sidewalks constantly. That was another thing. People never use the sidewalks. They do. They enjoy the gardens. The whole 302 improvement project of 2002, big success. And thank you all for your part of that. And for Chris, for one of the founders, originators, right?
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't say that exactly,
Oh, I
but
would.
I was in on the ground
I would.
level of it, for sure, and that's why it's so rewarding and
Well, when I got here, you said,
Beautiful,
this is
yeah.
what we're doing, and so
Yeah.
I to look at you as the person this is what we're gonna do, and we did it.
thank you.
Anybody else have last words before I ask for adjournment? Suggestions? Is there a motion to
I
adjourn?
think so.
Move to adjourn.
Is there a
I second.
Second?
Okay.
Thank you
Adjourn.
all.
Thanks.